It's officially the fantasy football playoffs, and every little detail matters. I'm talking about defenses, kickers. Yeah, you heard me, even kickers. We're giving you the best chance to win it all. Let's do this thing. The Fantasy GOAT starts right now.
Who starts? Who sits? And how to become the greatest of all time. This is the Fantasy GOAT, sponsored by La Bonita Supermarkets.
Hello there and welcome. This is the Fantasy GOAT. I'm Mike Davis. If you're hanging out with us, that most likely means you made it to the fantasy football playoffs or you just need to get a new hobby. Now, congratulations to you, your loved ones, and all that good stuff, but we need to win the fantasy football playoffs, and that's what today is all about, helping you win. And thankfully, I'm joined by a great panel of fantasy football experts. Joining the show today, we have Mark Deming, co-founder of Full Time Fantasy and a former #1 ranked fantasy player in the world. Sean Cruzen with Full Time Fantasy and Sports Illustrated. And joining us all the way from Chicago, it's Dr. Nithin Natwa at Fantasy Docs on social media. Got to make sure you follow him during the playoffs. So we're going to kick things off. But before we do that, I just got to mention, this is how good our panel is, guys. Mark Deming right now is in the lead out of every player at Full Time Fantasy Football Championships at Circa. You're in the #1 spot right now, heading into the championships for the $150,000 prize. Sean Cruzen is at 9th on that list. There's a lot of great stuff going on here, so you guys are definitely the people we need to be hearing from and talking to. So let's start with this. This pains me to my core. I'm talking deep in my bones, okay? Philadelphia, the champs, they are imploding, and so is quarterback Jalen Hurts. The man supposed to be a fantasy football marvel had one of the worst all-time fantasy performances of all time. Last week, Hurts had 4 picks and 1 fumble, ranging anywhere from 2 to negative points, depending on your league settings. My producer, James, okay, in the booth, he lost his game by playing him. He would have won if he just sat him for a big fat 0. So, Sean Cruzen, where does that fantasy performance rank as a blunder all time for you? And are you trusting to start Hurts if you have him on your playoff rosters?
You know, Mike, it hurts to the core. Jalen Hurts, terrible performance in a final week of the regular season. It cost me actually $10,000 in a league.
Really?
Yeah, it did. It still hurts. But to that point, Jalen Hurts, if I go to the numbers, he's the #6 quarterback overall. So one of the things I want to let the fantasy community know is during the playoffs, we're not going to panic. We're not going to, try to get cute. We're going to rely on the guys that got us there. Yes, Hurts had an all-time stinker for a final week, but I still trust him. We've got him ranked #6 overall this week in the first week of the playoffs. If I have him, I'm starting him. I trust him over quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
So I'm sticking with him. He got you to where you are. Yes, he had a bad week. Rub that off and, look forward and trust that Jalen Hurts, he's a dual threat quarterback, loves to run the ball, gets the ball at the goal line, gets running touchdowns, passes for a couple hundred yards a game. He's got 2 great receivers.
Yeah, I mean, the issue this year is that the tush-push is just not working the same way it used to. So he's not getting those same 1-yard QB sneak touchdowns, and he's not rushing as much as he should be. So it's a little bit of an upsetting thing when you drafted him so high in fantasy. But Mark, how do you feel about Hurts moving forward? Do you have him in any of these leagues in which you're competing? Because I know, yes, you have the #1 ranked team that's in the spot right now. If everything ended today, you'd get $150K. But do you have Hurts on any of these other rosters you have?
Yeah, I've got Hurts on some teams, and he's in a great position for a get-right game. So hosting Vegas, they're going to give up a lot of points to receivers. Like Sean mentioned, he's got 2 excellent receivers. There's a great back in Barkley. It was just a fluke game. And
okay,
I would, if you look at what Philadelphia did last year, Hurts was not playing that well, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl, so I could see him turn it around.
Okay, all right. So maybe it's just a fluke. Dr. Natwa, do you agree with Mark and Sean here?
Yeah, overall, I think they made great points. I would say that, getting that low of a score is kind of crazy. And a lot of people, I think QB is the one position where sometimes people have 2 top 10 players at the position. So if hypothetically they have another top 10 QB and that other top 10 QB hasn't put up, less than 10 points the entire season, I might consider pivoting in that situation. But otherwise, yeah, I would ride with Hurts.
Okay, Dr. Natwa, give us a brief update because we're going to be talking details in a second. And I can listen, my social life is so bad. I can tell Dr. Natwa that you even got a haircut. That's how detail oriented I am. But Dr. Natwa, tell me real quick, what's your status in all your fantasy playoff leagues? Are you competing for some championships?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm only in 2 leagues this year. With one league, I will say I had the most points for. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do, and there wasn't with median scoring. But I also had the most points against, and it was like 2,000 points against, or 2,100 points against. I think the next person had like 1,800 points against. So that one I'm counting as something where I did well in, even though I completely missed the playoffs.
Okay, well, listen, it's okay. Dr. Natwa has young children. Mark, Sean, their kids are a little older. So once you get to that point, Dr. Natwa, then you can be like them and be in 52 leagues. You only have to get through your teenage years and all that stuff. But guys, next up, we're talking defenses. Yes, every detail counts, just like Dr. Natwa's haircut. And can defense make all the difference? Well, in the fantasy football playoffs, really can.
You're watching the Fantasy Goat, sponsored by La Bonita Supermarkets.
When it comes playoff time, every detail matters, even defenses and kickers. So let's break it down. Mark, which defense are you looking at as a favorite for, I guess, this fantasy football playoff run? And remember, just cities, not team names.
Yeah, a couple of defenses you might want to get your hands on are Seattle and San Francisco. Seattle will be hosting Indianapolis this weekend. It's forecasted for rain. They're going to see a third-string quarterback, maybe
forecasted for a 44-year-old,
maybe a 44-year-old going against one of the top defenses in the league. If you shift over to San Francisco, they'll be hosting Tennessee, and then at Indianapolis facing the same.
Okay, so just to clarify, Mark, are these just for streamers for this week, week 15, or are these guys that you like for the rest of the fantasy football playoffs?
Yeah, if you're doing the playoffs and you had, in theory, Seattle and San Francisco, you'd be set up for the next 2 weeks. You could pick your poison.
Okay.
So you probably find San Francisco on a lot of waiver wires, and they are capable of putting up a good game.
Okay, yeah, Seattle, Houston, it's going to be hard to find, Denver. It's going to be hard to find them on the waiver wire. Mark, are you a streamer for defenses and kickers throughout the season, or how do you handle that?
It's kind of funny because my most owned player is the Seattle defense.
And I just want to say something. I was at a draft, and that's why I'm trying more so than ever before to really drive home the fact how great our panel always is and how lucky we are to have Sean, Mark, Dr. Nithin Natwa, and Ian all the time, because Mark did tell me at a fantasy draft back in August, you're going to want Seattle's defense. He told me, I was actually going to the restroom, and he pulled me aside. He said, take Seattle defense. I'll never forget that. Sean, what's your take on defenses right now for the fantasy football playoffs?
Well, you make great points. Seattle was one of the picks out of the draft that you were going to draft and hold on to throughout the year. The other defenses would have been Denver or Houston. So a lot of those aren't going to be on your waiver wires. So if you are a streamer like I am, what I always recommend to the fantasy community is about 2/3 away through the season, if you can pick up a Seattle or a Houston that's sitting on the waiver wire during the bye week, you grab them and you set them and you forget them. But if you're streaming and you have the ability to continue to add and drop, I do like Mark's recommendation on San Francisco, but I also like the Chicago Bears this week against the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
You have a rookie quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. I also like another one that might be out there, the Jacksonville team. They are ranked number 9 overall this year in fantasy defense.
Okay.
And they lead the league in takeaways. So those are 2 streaming defenses that you can look at down the stretch here.
Okay, I like a lot of those selections. I've been seeing a lot of Jacksonville and a lot of lists and a lot of research on my end. Dr. Natwa, what about you? What's your recommendation when it comes to defenses?
Yeah, so just riding along that train of having the quarterbacks that are kind of inexperienced. I think, the Jags are going up, Jacksonville's going up against the New York, and they're going to have a difficult time. I mean, they're having a good time teeing up on that rookie quarterback. And then also Dallas, they can get a coin toss there because J.J. McCarthy turned it on last week, but every other week before that, he hadn't really been doing super well. So that's one that you can take a stab at as well.
Yeah, that was such a shocking game. Really strange to see that blowout. They held them to 0. So it was a crazy game there. So make sure you're checking the waiver wire. San Francisco is probably a good selection, as well as Jacksonville, to see if they are there on your waiver wire. Guys, don't go anywhere. When we come back, there's more Fantasy GOAT straight ahead. All right, welcome back, Fantasy GOAT. This week, our Commissioner's Choice of the Week award goes to Kyle Pitts. Yes, that wasn't on my bingo card, but on Thursday night, Kyle Pitts had the game of his life. Literally, it was like a video game, dropping 45 points in fantasy with 11 catches, 3 touchdowns on 166 yards. All I'm going to say is, I hope you didn't face him. Mark Deming played him, though. And now, for the Commissioner's Choice of the Week from La Bonita, let's go shopping. What's up, guys? Mike Davis here at La Bonita in Green Valley with my good buddy Armando. Armando, tell us about the black trays here, because guys, just the other day, I came to La Bonita as a single guy. I'm trying to cook myself dinner. I got this ranchero meat right here, changed my life. So tell us about the black containers here at La Bonita.
So the black trays, this is the convenient grab and go, looking for a fast dinner, easy dinner, delicious dinner. When you see the black tray, you'll find it in the pre-packed areas, but that means it's already marinated. We have our own marinades, family recipes we have. Chicken, steak, ranchera, carne asada, whatever, you can find it all pre-marinated.
This steak ranchera, oh my God. I mean, thin, tender, tasted so great. I don't have all the marinades and the spices and the sauces to make it taste good. So La Bonita is making it easy for guys like me. And tell us about the party tray, Armando.
So the party tray is very popular with us. You pick this up, it's 1 pound of beef, 1 pound of pork, and 1 pound of chicken. It's diced up, already ready for taco meat. So you go home, cook it up, grab some of our fresh made tortillas, and it's Taco Tuesday made very easy for everyone.
There you go. Taco Tuesday every night is easy when you come to La Bonita. Make sure you check out these black trays. That's going to make life easy for all you guys at home, so you can really focus on the important things like fantasy football. Armando, thank you so much. Guys, come check out La Bonita here. 7 locations, 8 on the way, but I always come to the one right here in Green Valley.
You're watching the Fantasy GOAT, sponsored by La Bonita Supermarkets.
All right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Fantasy GOAT. Mike Davis here with you. So happy you're with us. Let's ramp up and talk some fantasy football playoffs, and let's continue with something that's super sexy to talk about. I'm talking about kickers. Yeah, no, being facetious a little bit, but in the fantasy playoffs, we really are looking for any edge we can get. So Dr. Natwa, is there a kicker you're holding dear in your heart during the fantasy football playoffs?
Yeah, I got to go with my hometown, Detroit. I like Bates. I think that Campbell has gone for it less on 4th down recently. And also they're going against pretty tough defense this week in LA. And I think that they're going to be forced to both put points up on the board, but they're also going to have a little bit of difficulty getting into that end zone. So I think that's going to result in a lot of hopefully field goals and hopefully the W.
I like that take, because we haven't been getting a lot of Jake Bates talk, but that is good stuff. And, it is true, because with Detroit reeling, you're probably not going to be going for it on 4th down as much. So those points are going to be critical for a team like that in Detroit. Mark, what about you? Any kickers that you're in love with? Who would you be selling or buying high on during the fantasy football playoffs?
I like Dicker a lot. I think that Herbert's a little banged up and wasn't throwing the ball downfield a lot, so they might be running the ball and just dinking and dunking it and settling for field goals. It seemed like that was their strategy last game. To Doctor's point, I think that Bates is also a good option. They're playing the Rams and they have a home game. If you're trying to think about kicker down the stretch, just try to find either domed kickers or weather that facilitates a good kick. You don't want to be kicking in the snow or rain.
Right, yeah. I mean, the elements really play a big factor and role in this as well. Cameron Dicker had about 20 points last week, I believe, for Fantasy Football Manager. So it's big stuff. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's not just 3-4 points we're talking here. If you have one of these elite guys, you could be getting better production from your kicker than you're getting from your running back, your wide receiver. It's crazy stuff. Sean, what about you? Who are the kickers that you've been in love with all season long?
For me, all season, I've been a Fairbairn guy. I even held him through his injury. I also liked Myers with Seattle. Aubrey's a no-brainer. Cameron Dicker, obviously, another one. He cost a lot of people their league last week on those final kicks of the week. But if you're out there streaming, a couple key trends to look for. You're going to look for the implied totals on the game. So you want to play kickers in those high-scoring games. Dr. Natwa made a great call there with Bates, so he would be one that would be on my list. You also want to play the kickers against the Jets and the Cardinals. They allow the most points to kickers. Trends in seasons stay trends. They usually hold through the end of the year, so look for that. And if you do have a kicker, like the San Francisco kicker Pinheiro, who has yet to miss a field goal on a good offense, make sure you check with Dr. Natwa, you check the injury report, because you don't want to have a kicker and have him go out on an injury. So even those guys can be, questionable. So make sure you check the injury report on that. But, stick with somebody consistent. To Mark's point, domed kickers, good high-scoring games, good weather, all those type of things go in, because every point counts.
Every point counts, especially in the fantasy football playoffs. And that's a great plug. Always go check out @FantasyDocs, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure you're checking in with Dr. Natwa for those up-to-the-minute injury updates. All right, guys, after the break, our panel is going to share their last bit of advice, what you need to do to win in the playoffs. That's when we return after these messages.
You're watching the Fantasy Go. Sponsored by La Bonita Supermarkets.
All right, welcome back, Fantasy Go. So let's get some last bit of advice from our fantasy football experts. And let me just mention once again, off the top of the show, I was saying these guys are no joke. Okay, Mark Deming in first place right now for the full-time fantasy Circa World Championships, $150,000 on the line. He's sitting pretty after that Kyle Pitts game on Thursday Night Football. Sean, you're in ninth place, but you're also in first place in a 50K one as well, right?
Right, yeah, the Circa Las Vegas Fantasy Championships. There's 1,200 teams. I'm number one in that, and I'm right behind Mark, nipping at his heels in the World Championship at number 9.
Okay, so you guys are the people we want to hear from, as well as Dr. Natwa. So let's do this. I think let's just talk general strategy advice, mano-a-mano kind of stuff, when you're even, you guys are at a different level. But for a lot of people, even like me, I just want to beat my buddies from high school, right? I want to beat, a group of friends I have from college. So give us some advice for real people at home. What's something tangible, Mark, you can share that's just strategic that we should think of?
If you got yourself to the championship round and you're in the playoffs, just keep doing what you're doing. I'd say the biggest mistake people make is they start to change it up once they make the playoffs. They feel the anxiety or the pressure of a head-to-head game or trying to have a culmination of a 3-week total, but just keep doing what you're doing. That's my biggest
don't overthink.
Yeah, because I think people all of a sudden want to make a phone call to someone and get their opinion, and you can do that to a degree, but don't all of a sudden nurture your team all the way there and then put it in the hands of somebody else decision making. Just keep doing what you're doing because you've made good decisions to get there in the first place.
Okay, Dr. Natwa, what about you? After all these years of being a maven aficionado of fantasy football, what have you acquired, learned throughout the years? What's some of the strategies you would give to the people at home?
I mean, it goes right along with what Mark was saying. Just play the studs that you've been playing, and along those lines, I would just cut the dart throws that you made and make sure that you handcuff your star players. That way, just in case something happens this weekend, you got your backup right in the slot, because you're not gonna put a dart throw that hasn't really produced yet into your lineup week 16, in my opinion. But there is a chance that one of your star players gets injured this weekend, so you want to make sure you have their backup.
Yeah, Dr. Natwa, the through line, the way that you approach injuries in the playoffs, does it change at all from how you look at it or interpret it throughout the regular season, or during the playoffs? Does something change in your game plan?
No, I take a look at the injury more so, and I take a look at the player and how they deal with injury. I guess Josh Jacobs is a pretty prime example. If he's active, I'm playing him this week, even if he's limited, even if he doesn't log a full practice or anything like that. But hypothetically, someone like Godwin, if he was only logging limited practices, he wouldn't be a surefire slot into my lineup. And that's just because of the injuries they had and because of how they played throughout the season while having injuries. So you just have to take everything with a grain of salt, look at the bigger picture. And there's no absolutes with any of this pretty much.
Okay. Do you, Dr. Natwa, do you tend to appreciate teams that are actually a little bit, does it almost behoove fantasy managers during the fantasy playoffs to tie themselves to teams that are playing from behind, that really don't have a lot on the line per se? Do you tend to agree with that train of thought?
For certain players, yeah. I mean, I think Achan was a prime example of that. They weren't doing anything the first part of the season, and he was still putting up RB1 numbers without any kind of issue, game in, game out. So once again, it kind of just depends on the player, what kind of volume that they're getting, regardless of great game script. And then in that situation, yeah, playing from behind can get you through all these weeks.
Okay, we got about a minute and a half left. Sean, you're the guy who, I don't want to put all your personal business out there, but you did cash a check, I believe, for 50. How much?
55.
55 grand last week, just in all your fantasy expertise. So we got a minute left. Give us a little bit of pieces of advice for everybody at home.
Yeah, Mark and the doctor make great points. The doctor talking about how a player responds to injury is big. So last night we had Mike Evans come back. He's generally come back when he's come off injury. He's just got right in there, played. He's a goal line target. He had a great game last night, 19 points, fantasy points. So to the doctor's point, you play him if you got him. Also, in the fantasy, don't get cute. Don't start looking at the rankings and start making funny changes. So this week, Harold Fannin might be ranked the number 4 tight end, but I have Kyle Pitts on almost every team. I played him everywhere last night, and that's one of the reasons I'm in first place in one of the big tournaments, because I stuck to my plan. I stuck to what got me there. Now, to that point, I had a lot of Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. I'm not playing them anymore. I'm playing Christian Watson, but I'm not playing Romeo Doubs.
All right, listen, we got so much great advice today. We're wishing you the best of luck on the Fantasy Football GOAT and the playoffs. Good luck, everybody.